had enough. That's why I warned you guys yesterday. Be careful what you wrote. Okay, so that's all I have to say for now. And the next thing I want to call Mayor Britannia in Hamilton and tell him that we're going to have to spank the little tiger cats. Oh, and the last thing was Olivia Gondak. It says that I wanted to eat her pussy. Olivia Gondak. I've never said that in my life to her. I would never do that. I'm happily married. I've got more than enough to eat at home.
What about drinking and driving, Mayor?
So while we're dipping into memory lane, because last week was the Grey Cup, but also last week also marked 12 years since Rob Ford's hilarious and just absolutely insane live TV presser.
Gosh, man, Rob Ford went so hard in on the Argos, and it was the great thing about Rob Ford is it was sincere. It was always sincere. It wasn't concocted. That's real.
Yeah,
convenient but real.
Yeah.
I know we're up live right now, but I don't know if we can. Mayor Ford, speaking as Mayor Ford does very plainly, as he said in council yesterday, he effed up, and now using language that I don't think we can broadcast that on TV, but we just broadcast that on TV. Another unbelievable day here at Toronto City Council as Mayor Ford speaks to the media for the first time since those new allegations came forward, and then using language that I'm not going to repeat that language, but Mayor Ford dismissing those claims, saying he's going to launch legal action against his former staff.
Okay, so this is how I was going to reverse engineer the Doug Ford thing is like with the Rob Ford, like that moment, I remember watching that live because it was in the midst of the crack scandal and all of like everything that had involved his chaotic public persona.
Man, this all, sorry if I may interject, this all reminds me of like when I rewatched Seinfeld. Like the golden era of Seinfeld is so brilliantly written because you'll watch an episode and you're like, holy shit, I forgot that those 3 different like complete plots happened in one episode interwoven. And when you think back to those Rob Ford years, you're like, whoa, I forgot all that was happening at the same time.
That reminds me also about there's a scene where Jerry has tickets to the Super Bowl and he asks Kramer if he wants to go, and Kramer says that he's only interested in Canadian football.
Football, yes. The last point of the archetype is guys like Kramer, like just intentionally weird dudes. Weird like hipster doofuses.
I can't believe you got these for free.
What? Row F!
Row F.
In front of the G's, hobnob with the D's and E's.
Not Kramer or Elaine, they don't want him?
I asked. Elaine laughed at me. Kramer's only interested in Canadian football.
Well, wish I could help you.
Well, there was a period in time where there was American teams in the CFL.
Oh, I remember. I remember.
And then because of NAFTA, NAFTA fucking just like political squabbling, it all was around the same time that we're talking about. They kicked out the American teams and they were like, we're only going to have a Canadian team.
Oh, I think the NFL pivoted to NFL Europe after that as well.
I'm pretty sure that's also the reason why there's a huge, I need to look into this. I don't want to like talk into my ass, but I'm pretty sure all of this amounts to the Ravens getting their team back, right?
Yes,
the Ravens becoming a team, and then the Browns becoming a team again in 1999.
Yeah, the total switch up there, and it was like the Baltimore Colts becoming the Indianapolis Colts, and then there was some sort of deal making done there.
Yes, because the CFL, there was a team called, I believe they were called the Baltimore Stallions.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And so the Stallions were kicked out of the CFL. And then because of that, it made room for because like back then the CFL was actually huge. You know what I mean? Like it was a big thing. Like people in like, one of the biggest architects of the Minnesota Vikings, Bug Grant, is a architect of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. You know, like the CFL was neck and neck back in the day.
Oh, that's wild. That NFL. Like the geographical connection clearly would have been a thing there as well.
Yeah, exactly.
There's such a archetype of the Canadian football fan
Yeah.
And I mean, there's a couple like trends. The biggest one probably is being from Saskatchewan. But then there's a certain type of old guy, and it's mostly old white guys, but also I've observed in Toronto, old Jamaican guys fucking love the CFL. I don't know what the timeline is there, but like whenever there's like the Argos are doing well or the Grey Cup's on, old Jamaican guys are out in force loving that shit. Or maybe it's like a lot of different immigrant groups who might have come around a certain time. Because remember the Argos were like cool in the 80s when John Candy and Wayne Gretzky and who was the fucking last person? They were like the ownership group.
Martin Short, I believe.
Yeah, I think there was like maybe an American football player. Regardless, there was that like moment where it was kind of anyway. And then like a certain type of like person who's generally like not non-toxic, not hateful, but just like hyped about Canadian culture. Like the people who are like, oh, I actually just like, we were like, what kind of music do you like? And they're like, I really like Canadian artists. Like they like prioritize, which is, there's nothing wrong with that. That overlaps with the CFL fandom for sure.
Yeah, you know what I think that is that I think it is probably the comeuppance of like the Blue Jays and like Toronto sports fandom, while also like I'm pretty sure it overlaps with Pinball Clemons, right? So like a lot of like black sports athletes from Toronto, both being either African American or also like from the Caribbean, you know what I mean? And that also like overlapping with like Vlad Sr., because that's all around at the same time, you know what I mean? Where like Canada sports was cool, and it was also cool.
Oh, Donovan Bailey too, like
yeah,
totally.
Yellow 80! Yellow 80! Say that!
Yeah, so like with Rob Ford and all of that, with the crack scandal and all of that insane stuff, everything, Rob Ford's like entire persona is what opened the door both for Trump, right? Oh, like for that kind of like, absurd.
He absolutely greased the fucking slide for Trump. No.
Right, and then the narrative became inherited by Doug. And Doug is that like Doug became the narrative of Rob after Rob died.
Yeah, he sure benefited from that.
And Doug is not a progressive. Like that's all a veil. He's a pure capitalist, right? But like,
oh my God, that's being generous. He's just corrupt. It's transparent. The transparency in his corruption is impressive, honestly.
Yeah.
This brings me to a brief digression, but like in the last week we had the Trump Zoran man crush thing develop.
By the way, being the mayor of New York City is a big deal. Absolutely. I always said, one of the things I would love to be someday is the mayor of New York City. Being the mayor of New York, and especially now, because I think you're at really a turning point, one way or the other. It could go great, or it can go in a different direction. And I think you really have a chance to make it great.
And so I had this thought when like Trump was daydreaming out loud about how he'd always wanted to be the mayor of New York. And I was like, oh my God, if someone had just like, if that had all fallen into place, Trump's like evil would have been contained solely to the city of New York. His corruption would have been limited to that scale. He never would have gotten into like xenophobic, like fucking Hitler influenced, like cult of personality stuff. They should have just let him be mayor of New York. And that now in hindsight, I'm like, if Rob just hadn't died, we probably never would have gotten saddled with Doug as premier. And more than likely, Rob probably would have either he would have run for premier or just been perfectly, or he would have gone into being a broadcaster for CFL games or something. We'd be in a much better place.
Oh my God.
Crazy.
It's also crazy to think about this, because if Trump
is a centrist Democrat.
Yeah. And so then if he did rise to power after he became mayor of New York and then like became like a higher level politician to run for president, he would have,
if the right person got in his ear, he would have become like a leftist populist.
No, it's true. There's a time where he tried to. There's a really good John Boyes documentary called Reform, where he goes over like
the Reform Party.
Yeah,
like Ross Perot one. Oh,
yes.
Wow.
Trump was a part of the power vacuum that Ross Perot created, which was also involved Jesse Ventura. And at the time, it's crazy too, because at the time, this is insane. Trump left the Reform Party because it was endorsed by David Duke. And he was like, I'm not hanging out. Oh my
God.
I'm not hanging out with these white supremacists. That's literally what happened.
Holy shit.
It's so crazy.
Like, when Trumpism first started, I was like, man, we might just, like, if you want to get into the big ideas about simulation theory and whatnot, I'm like, maybe we live in a comic book. Like, maybe this is one of the Batman fucking reboots. But every detail just, like, makes that more believable.